Okay, today we're going to do the mana recharge system. Last time we made the teleport system that can recognize when you're trying to get up onto a wall or just trying to teleport into the air or on the edge of something or on the ground. But there's no mana system. You can just teleport indefinitely without any problems. And we're going to fix that. And the system we're going to set up is going to be like the Dishonored system, which I think is actually pretty clever. What they do is, you notice when you teleport, it uses up mana, but then when you wait, it will just recharge to wherever the dark blue bar is. But if you use your mana before it recharges, it will use it from wherever the light blue bar is. And what this means is if you're just kind of chilling and exploring, you can go slowly and you never have to use up any mana since you can always wait. But then if you get into combat and you want to teleport quickly, that's when your potions become useful to recharge your mana. And it also means you can like never really truly run out of mana, since there's always going to be a little bit of sliver at the bottom, so you can always teleport at least somewhat. Or if you want to top it off, you can use your potions. We're just going to use pickups since we don't have an inventory system, but that's okay. Okay, so let's get started. We already have a player HUD. We just used it to make a crosshair. We didn't actually use it for anything else. And so we just want a progress bar here. And the health bar doesn't actually do anything in this, but let's rotate it a little bit. That's down in the transform. The angle is what you have. Put it something like that. And then the mana bar is just slightly more than that. I don't know if this is right, but we will try to make it look somewhat nice. I'll get the colors to be correct as well. So the way we actually do this, we'll label this health, and then we'll label this mana. In the tint here, the background tint is actually going to be blank. Let's set the percentage a little bit here, which is right there. So you know it's going from left to right. We actually want bottom to top, like that. And then this blue, we are going to change to like this, just 0.1. So that's the blue. But we also want, I wonder if we can, no, we can't parent that. That's okay though. We will grab just the position and just paste it in there to do it for both of these. There we go. Okay, let's increase the percentage a little more. And then this one, we are actually going to give a little bit of opacity. So like that, just so you can kind of see the bar. And then the actual blue is going to be a much darker blue. Here, I'm just going to copy the color here. I'll show you what it is though. It's going to be like that. So that's what? 7. Let's make that 5. 1. There you go. And then we actually want this to be below. So this is the mana recharge. Like that. And we actually want it on the bottom. So just add -1 to the Z order just below. And let's just make this red. Nope. Background. There we go. That's our health bar. Or it's pretending to be a health bar anyway. Let's make this a bit longer. I wonder if we can scale these. Something like that. let's make them something even. And then maybe just 3 or 290. There we go. 55 and 290. There we go. Excellent. Okay, and then the only two events we're going to need, we're going to make 2 different custom events. And we're going to call this, let's move this over, set mana. And then we're going to make another custom event, and we're going to call this set mana recharge point. And then grab the progress bar. You can hold down Control if you, and then set percent. I'm just dragging that in. We actually want to divide this though. And we're just going to divide it by 100 since we're going to feed in a number and we want a percentage. So it's going to be like that. And we'll just call this mana. And then we'll call this recharge mana. Okay. And then the rest is going to be in the player. Okay, so we already set the create the HUD. That's already spawning in. Now that we have this HUD reference, assuming we've compiled it, which we have, we're going to add in the actual mana stuff. And we can do set mana right here. If you use shift delete, it will delete things without actually removing the node there. And then here we're going to do set mana recharge point. We'll do that right after this. There we go. And we want variables for this. Which we actually want to set this to 100. So if we check and play, we should have our bar and it's charged up. You notice in here it's not charged up. That's because we're setting it on begin play, and that means it's working. So we got our 2 bars. Okay, now to actually get the mana to recharge correctly, and then get the mana to get used up correctly. Here we go. So we're going to need, other than these 2 things, we're going to need 2 more variables. So we'll label this. This is actual blink. This is HUD setup. I think this is movement. And then this was, you'd probably want all this in like functions and stuff if you weren't just doing it as a savage with just nodes laying all around. This is the blink check. And then on tick is what we're going to do next, where we're going to do the mana recharge. So we're going to do a branch right here, and we're going to need a variable here. And the variable here is, we're just going to plainly call it recharge mana. I like a little question mark. I think it makes more sense. And we're actually going to check one more thing besides this. So we're going to do an and boolean. So we're going to do, hey, if the mana should recharge, go ahead and do this. And if the mana is not equal to the recharge mana. So it's like if it's already recharged, like don't recharge it. Pretty obvious, but we want to check for that. Otherwise, since this is on tick and no need to run something on tick if it's not actually needed. Okay, and then what we're going to do on tick is we're actually going to use an finterp. So mana, or no, I'm sorry, finterp. We're going to use a constant since we don't want it to ease in. And this will slowly adjust to that value. And we want delta seconds. Get world delta seconds. And you can change this to whatever you want. 22 seems to work pretty well though. Okay, and then we're going to set that. But remember, we can't just set it in the player. We also want to set the mana in our HUD like that. Okay, this recharges it. Just label that recharge mana. But we still need to use it, which we will use here. No, here, which is the blink at the bottom of the blink. And we also need to set up so you can't blink if you don't have mana, which will be only really at the end since your mana will always recharge. So we're going to need more space here. Okay. So let's go ahead and make some branches. We're going to do it for both of these. I think some of I'm looking at my other project, and I think some of these checks I don't actually need for this example. But okay, so for example, yeah, we'll use the blink checking here, and then if assuming your mana is not greater, your mana needs to be greater than 0 for this to actually work, which you can put here. Did we have an actual teleporting? Oh no. A small modification in this project versus the other one. This one immediately teleports to the point where, if you notice in this demo, this kind of like moves you through space quite quickly. It's not very noticeable, so like compare that to what we have in here. So this is instant, and that like kind of rapidly moves you through space. It's a very subtle difference. So in the other project, I have a check here to see if you're actually teleporting, but we don't need that here since we're doing it instantly. That is an effect though, because like if you look at Dishonored gameplay, they do actually do that, where it's not a true teleport, it's just like rapidly pushing you through space, which kind of makes sense. It's called blinking for a reason. But this we can also put there. We only want to do that if you also have mana. Okay, so now that we have this is the teleport system, and we can hook on the rest of the mana check right here. So we created this variable. So as soon as this happens, we are going to set the mana to not recharge. This is going to be off by default. I think Actually, no, we can keep it on since we start with full mana. And then, let me check something here though. Another kind of system, and I think Dishonored does this. If you teleport an itty bitty amount, it uses an itty bitty amount of mana, where if you teleport as far as possible, it uses a fairly large chunk of mana. So you see that? Big chunk gets used, little teleport, only a little bit of mana gets used. So we're going to implement that here as well. You can kind of set this up to however you want, but the way we're going to do that is we're going to do get actor location, and then the distance, and I think we have yeah, there's the blink point. We're going to grab that, and then we're going to divide this by 900. So that's kind of the distance I want to go for. And then I'm just going to do make literal float. This is you probably don't want to do this very often, using a make literal float. It's not really good practice. I'm doing it here though, since it works. Okay. So then the mana recharge point, let's actually rechange this. Mana recharge point, like that. And we're going to not set this here. Let's add this here. So mana. So this will equal this. So the mana is going to equal the new mana right after teleporting. So we're trying to figure out how much mana should we subtract. So let's take the distance. I divide it by a certain amount. So 900, that's kind of roughly correlated to how far we blink. So 1800, I have kind of a max. I'm sure you could graph out like kind of how much mana gets used based on distance. I just messed around the numbers until they felt about right. So we teleport about 1800 units, which I think is similar. Oh, we do 2000 here, so maybe we can reduce this. We use 1800 here. I'll do 2000 actually, why not? Okay, so 2000 units, and then this is kind of the cutoff of the max. As soon as you reach that, it's trying to figure out how much mana to subtract out of your mana pool. However, we do want to clamp this. So just like that. Because we never want to, we don't want to give you like 200 mana or negative 50 mana. So only go as low as you can actually go. If you hold Alt, by the way, that's how to drag it out. It's just a set right away. Okay, so now that we have that, then we can probably just grab it here. We can literally just copy this like that. That's we want to update it. Okay, but we're not done yet. Since right now this just drains constantly. Why does it drain constantly? True. Blink checking. Mana. Did we do the check here? Mana recharge. Why does this drain constantly? Hold on. I think yeah, this, okay. I guess maybe this does need to. There we go. That does need to be set to false, because the other way to do that is you could set this to be true, but this would need to be set to 100. Because it's trying to move the mana to the recharge point, which is 0. So yeah, either of those will fix that. Okay. And this should kind of work. No, it doesn't. Let's see what's going on. So we got the blink point, mana, recharge, set mana, blink. Let's debug this. So let's just do a call here, or print string. This works. And then I'm gonna throw another print string into here. And we'll just call this HUD called. And let's see if, okay, HUD called, which is at the start. And then this works, HUD called. So why is the percentage not actually getting set correctly? HUD reference, set mana, mana recharge point. Let's is the mana actually getting subtracted? This minus this, it's plus, but it's plus some negative. Should equal this. What happens if we do that? Let's see what the actual, okay, so it's not actually getting subtracted, so that's bad. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong with my math here. Okay, we got the blink point vector. What does this end up as? Let's print this. Okay, so it looks like that's trying to subtract everything every single time. Why did this work before? Give me 1 second. I know exactly why. Okay. Yeah, it's one of the, remember the, okay, interesting. So for this has to go at the end, because of course it's never going to subtract mana because you teleport before we calculate the distance. Look at that, there we go. Beautiful. So remember how earlier I was saying you lerp to the distance in the other project? That's why it doesn't work here, because your distance is always, sorry for the people yelling at the screen, seeing it obvious. Okay, that was actually confusing. But one last step here. We use what's called a retriggerable delay. I use roughly 1.6 seconds, seems to work. And then you set the recharge mana to be true again, just like that. So that's that. So move, if you wait, it recharges. And then if you go quickly, it uses, or go far, it uses a ton of mana. And if you go quickly, it chews through your mana. So let's quickly create a pickup. The pickup's pretty simple. We'll create the material for it as well, which we're just gonna call this the mana pickup, like that. And we can create this with some base stuff. So we will grab a cone. Where's the cone? Right there. And we're going to do 2.25, just like that. Do we have the concrete material here? Concrete tiles. Yep, nice. And then we are going to grab a sphere. And we're just going to move this up by 80. Just like that. We're actually going to create a custom material for this. And we'll just call that mana orb. And we'll call this base. And then the last thing is we will grab a sphere, which we will also move up by 80. But we'll make it a bit bigger. And we'll set this to be like 90. This we don't want to have any collision, so we can just turn off all this. None. Other than that though, the actual pickup sphere, we will begin overlap. And let's grab the pickup system for this, which is fairly simple. So the first thing we'll do, we'll just make sure cast to first person character. We are going to need, instead of seeing if the mana orb, I'm just going to check to see if this is visible. Is visible. Since what we're going to do later is we're actually going to toggle this off when you pick it up. So functionally, we can use that to see if it's valid. Instead of using another variable, we just use the is visible. Again, I don't actually know if that's good practice or not. I do that fairly often. Let's create a quick little custom function here in the player, and we'll call this get mana pickup, like that. Let's pick up one word. I don't know. And the get mana pickup is going to be fairly simple. We can actually I'm going to copy this like this. Even this actually. Yeah, we can grab all that and that. Copy, move this down. We don't need that. We do want this there, this there. Mana, we'll just label that mana amount. We want this to actually go after this. We want to clamp it. We don't want to give, we don't have any overcharge system to give like extra mana or anything, so that's fine. And then we actually want to set it in the HUD, just like that. And this is our get to mana. Okay, so now I'm back in the pickup. Let's go ahead and call the get mana pickup. Let's compile this real quick, and we need to grab this from the player. There it is. And we will make that a variable. Let's see, we'll give these to give, let's say 35 mana. So that way you can, if you get 3 of them, you're back up to full. I think the game's around that. I don't know if that's exactly. Set visibility. I think it takes about 3 potions. Maybe it depends on the potion. It's been a while since I played Dishonored, so I don't know. But then we want these to respawn just so we can kind of test them. So we'll just give it a delay of like 9 seconds. Seems to be good. And we'll just set this to be visible again. And so what that means is whenever it's around, you can pick it up. And whenever it's not, you can't. So let's use some mana and then run over it. Boop, mana's up. And then if we waited 9 seconds, it will come back. As it's doing that, let me pull up the material for the mana. There it goes. Came back. Okay, and we're gonna make quick mana material. We'll go ahead and throw it on the pickup, and then we'll set it up. So for the mana material, we just have a color, which is this nice blue color, whatever that is. And we'll plug that into the base. And then for the emission, we'll plug something in there. And then we'll just texture coordinates. So I'll make these like 0.9. This is not an official nice material. We're just getting something to look vaguely mana-like. We'll set the X speed. Then we'll grab a texture sample. And then what's the name of this texture? I think it's offset noise. Let's see. Distance field. This one seems to work. And we're actually going to multiply this with 2. Throw that into that multiply. So so it gives it a kind of spinny feel. And we're just going to copy this and multiply it again. And we are going to change things around a little bit. We're going to make these slightly different sizes so they never perfectly like match up. And then we're also going to reverse the pan on one of them so they cycle around like that. And that's our mana material. There we go. can put these around. So now we have a mana system. So if we go, it recharges, and then if we go quickly, we go far. See, we can't go until it recharges a little bit, then we can go again, like that. Unless we go over a mana orb, in which we pick up mana. Like that. Which is nice. See, that's the other thing. This is kind of long. I'm going to do the, let's see if we can cram in the movement. So like, for example, if I do this, you don't actually pick up the mana because I'm not actually moving. So like the way I actually do this, I might just copy this in. I'm gonna copy this in. I'm gonna copy it in and explain it, but this is just kind of a bonus. I'm gonna cover how to make the player actually move like through space rapidly instead of teleporting. So like if you teleport behind this, I should get the mana, but I don't. Why don't I? Well, because I'm not actually moving there. I'm just teleporting to that point, which isn't actually how the teleportation system works. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab in a section. It's going to be on tick. We're going to need one more variable, and it's just going to be called teleporting. And we're going to throw that in here onto the actual blink, and we're gonna, that's gonna be is don't do this if you can't teleport, and this one like that. So that will be there, and then we're also going to, in addition to the recharge mana turn off, we're gonna say, hey, when this is set it to be teleporting like that. Okay. And then this is kind of a hack. I'm literally just going to copy this in, since this isn't actually what the tutorial is about, but I will explain it. Okay, so here it is. Since we have a lot of the similar variables. So this is the system we're going to use. So we can actually go up here. Remember how this was causing problems? We're just going to delete that. So this should just break everything. Can't teleport at all, nothing happens. It kind of freaks out. But if we plug this in, so first off, what's it doing? Hey, are you teleporting? Run this system, which gets activated by the trigger where we just activated it there, where it's like, hey, when you're ready to teleport, go ahead and set the teleport variable to be true. And that doesn't mean just immediately teleport, but that means go ahead and engage this on tick system. And what actually happens on this on tick system? Well, a few things. So first thing is go ahead and start lerping the player location to the blink point, and do this very quickly. So it's a quite quick lerp, so that's why you don't notice it at all. And set the actor location to that. And the other kind of thing is, if you're going to a wall, go ahead and, let's see, what am I doing here? Move them within 100. Like, because I don't actually want them to go exactly, oh, let's see, this should be this. Let's see here. I think if I rename this, it will just, yeah, it figures it out. This is so you don't teleport into a wall very well. The teleport function, this is just for physics. This means you can't, like, you won't freak out, like be able to push something really quickly. So you want that checked on. And then it's like, okay, go ahead and lerp that. The other thing it's doing is go ahead and turn your gravity down. Do that once. Yeah. And then get the actor location. And if it's within let's see. Get the actor location. And if it's within 1 unit of this, for any of this, unless it's a wall, then go ahead and activate it to be no longer teleporting because you've reached the destination. Turn the gravity back on. And then this is basically, you just need 1 frame delay here. So, and go ahead and reset this. Otherwise this will trigger indefinitely. This kind of weird setup here for the blink types is so you can't teleport into a wall as well, because it kind of freaks out. It's still not perfect. This kind of worked for the setup before. If you really wanted to test this though, there's probably a better way to stop your player from teleporting into walls. But if we test this, you noticed we actually picked up that mana. And you can kind of see the effect. I don't know if you can see it on YouTube very well, but you can notice that you're definitely moving through space. And you actually pick up stuff along the way, which I kind of like. It does have a few other gameplay implications. That's it though. So we covered mana, we covered the health bar, or we didn't cover the health bar, but we covered the recharge system, we covered mana pickups, and we also threw in the move teleport a bit. Again, kind of a rambling tutorial. Sorry about the bug I ran into at the very end there. That probably added an additional like 10 minutes. But if you do have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I will be adding on to this if needed. It is a cool system, and I do kind of like studying other games to see what sort of kind of elegant solutions they came up with to fix their gameplay problems. And I think the mana recharge system in Dishonored is certainly one of them. All right, see y'all later.